I'm a social psychologist. I'm interested in the study of radicalization and extremism. Our team is carrying out research all over the world. We have done research in Southeast Asia, Middle East, Europe, all concerned with the process of radicalization and the psychological factors that underlie radicalization. And this time I was asked by the American Embassy in Germany to do a lecture tour in various German cities to address various institutions and organizations that counter violent extremism, to share our ideas, our empirical findings, and our insights into the process of radicalization, counter-radicalization, de-radicalization, and so forth. It's a very important question. It's the million-dollar question, as it were. What are the motivations? If you look at the literature on motivations for terrorism and extremism, you see a whole list of factors that people list. People talk about the perks of afterlife, people talk about vengeance, people talk about monetary considerations, money for the family. Some people even talk about feminism, showing that women can also do it. But, and these are all true enough, but underlying all these, we find in our work across the world, there is one significant need, and that's the need to matter, to be significant, to have respect for oneself and from others. And that need to be significant, to do something that earns you the respect of other people, is the underlying motivation for extremism. How does it work? There is a narrative that tells you how to attain significance. And the narrative, in the case of extremism, suggests that through violence, through self-sacrifice, through committing suicide for the cause, you become a martyr and a hero. And then your network enforces that idea that through violence you become important, you become significant. So we have this 3N conglomerate of factors that produce extremism: the need for significance, the narrative that suggests that violence brings you significance, and the network of people, leaders, charismatic communicators that reinforces that idea. We have to reverse that process. We have to understand the need. We have to understand that frustrating that need through intolerance, through discrimination, through disempowerment, disenfranchisement, creates that need. And therefore that need has to be addressed. We all have the need to matter, to be significant. The question is how it is channeled, and so addressing that need through alternative means, constructive means, empowering people to do good for society, to be tolerant, to be constructive, that this is the way to bring them significance. That's basically the guideline. And creating movements, social networks that reinforce that. That would be the three blueprints. Address the need in constructive ways, reinforce it through social movements. That would be the way to do it. How it is translated, that's the matter for local communities, churches, organizations, social workers, police, to work together in concert to make that happen. Germany is very interesting because it has had a very long history of dealing with extremism. There has been a continuity of extremism from the Nationalsozialismus time, the Nazi time. Some people were disappointed that the Third Reich fell. They had prestige within the Third Reich. They wanted to continue. All kinds of groups were created over time, and they surfaced and they were addressed by police. So the German society was very much against the repeat of the Nazi times, was very alert and very vigilant, and created structures funded by the federal government, funded by the states, created local community organizations. There was a tremendous amount, hundreds of organizations all over Germany have had the experience recruiting professional sociologists, psychologists, social workers, legal experts. So Germany has dealt with violent extremism in a variety of different ways. Now the Islamic extremism is been surfacing, but we can leverage that experience and that infrastructure of organizations that deal with extremism to address the issue of Islamic extremism as well. And we in the United States are, I think, only now learning how to begin to deal with this very delicate and paradoxical process. The world these days is in a very dangerous spot. There is a great deal of uncertainty, great deal of change, economic turbulence, great migration of peoples, a great refugee problem, and that creates a very volatile situation in which people feel disempowered, disenfranchised, discriminated against. There is polarization. People have the fear of otherness, and the society has to mobilize to understand the psychological roots of extremism, and rather than allowing this polarization, this extremism on both sides of the aisle, so to speak, to happen, to counter it with all the means at our disposal.